welcome to 31 Nights of Halloween. All October long, we will be going over nothing but Halloween topics, from true crime stories to scary stories, and the true stories behind our favorite movies. So, with that being said, today we are back with a part 2 of the dark history behind our favorite Disney princesses. And if you haven't seen part 1, I'll leave the link down in the description box if you want to check that out. But first, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Now that we got that out the way, let's go ahead and get into today's video. Let's start with the very first Disney princess, Snow White. Now, the animated version wasn't really one of my favorites growing up, but I did really like the Snow White and the Huntsman movie. It came out in about, I think, 2012. It was really good. It was more for adults, though. But, anyways, Snow White was another story that was remade by Disney to be child friendly, but the actual story was very disturbing. Well, at least the ending was. Now, in the original fairy tale, they did have the magic mirror, the poison apple, the glass coffin, the evil queen, and the seven dwarfs. So, for the most part, the movie goes hand in hand with the original story. Now, in the original story, the queen, aka Witch, aka her stepmother, tries to unalive Snow White on a few different occasions before even giving her the poison apple. At this point, it is believed that she passes away and the prince ends up taking her to go bury her. That's when the glass coffin falls, and one of the servants carrying it gets really mad and hits her, which causes a piece of apple to shoot out of her throat, and then she wakes up. The prince falls in love with her and they plan to get married. So at this point, the queen goes to the mirror once again and asks the mirror who's the fairest of them all. This is when the mirror tells her that it's still not her and that there is a bride of a prince who is yet fairer than her. The queen decides to go to this wedding to investigate. Once she arrives, the queen is furious when she finds out that the prince's bride is her stepdaughter, Snow White herself. The furious queen tries to unalive her again, but the prince recognizes her and punishes her for attempting to unalive Snow White. The prince orders the queen to wear a pair of red hot iron slippers to dance in them until she passes away. When the queen finally is defeated and unalived, Snow White's wedding peacefully continues. So, I mean, at least Snow White still got her happily ever after. This next Disney princess was one of my favorites, The Little Mermaid. But unfortunately, the original didn't have a happy ending. Now, in the Disney version, Ariel eventually wins the heart of Prince Eric, gets her voice back, and celebrates with a beautiful wedding on a boat surrounded by her aquatic friends and family. But in the original story, which is tragic throughout the whole story, starting from when Ariel is transformed into a human, which causes her constant agonizing pain. Now, to become a human, she made a deal with the Sea Witch. So the Sea Witch cuts out Ariel's tongue and keeps her beautiful singing voice in exchange to give Ariel legs. She did all of that just for this man to break her heart and marry another woman because Ariel couldn't talk and was mute. The Sea Witch then tells her that if she unalives the prince, she will turn her back into a mermaid and she'll live a happy life. But Ariel chooses to sacrifice herself instead. This whole story is just sad. I guess the lesson to the story is to be happy with what you have and who you are, and that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I mean, I'm assuming that's supposed to be the message. At least that's what I got from it. What do you guys think? Rapunzel, which Disney recreated and called the movie Tangled. Now, in the original story, Rapunzel's father gets caught stealing herbs from a witch's garden. When he is caught, he apologizes and he tells the witch that his wife is pregnant and is craving these herbs. So she says, all right, it's okay, but if you want me to spare your life, you have to give me your daughter. So he did. He just gave her his newborn child because his life was more important, I guess. So the witch locks her up in this tower. Now, as Rapunzel gets older, a prince finds her and he starts to sneak into her room by climbing up her hair. Now, once he gets into the room, they do the nasty, and Rapunzel would end up getting pregnant. When the witch finds out, she cuts Rapunzel's hair off and banishes her from the tower. The witch then uses Rapunzel's hair, her cut off hair, to trick the prince. So he climbs up like he has so many times before, and once he gets to the top, the witch pushes him out the window. This causes him to go blind. He then runs into the forest. Meanwhile, Rapunzel gives birth to twins and she ends up singing to them. This is when the prince hears her voice and finds his way to her. Rapunzel then heals him, and they live happily ever after. So I guess this story wasn't as bad as some of the others. Now, Tangled does seem like it's the last Disney princess that is based off an old horror story. All of the newer Disney princesses are completely made up and they have just used different cultures to create them, which I really love the fact that Disney has made princesses for everyone and that every little girl has a princess that they can relate to. Well, I think I went over all of the Disney princesses that had came from awful and gory backstories. But if I have missed any that you would like me to cover, just let me know down in the comment section. I'll also leave the link to part 1 down in the description box as well. Now, I'm not quite done with Disney yet. I might have covered all the princesses, but there are still a few Disney movies that are based off some crazy horror fairy tales. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more dark Disney stories. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a very spooky 31 Nights of Halloween.